Good morning, everybody. This is Mrs. Ray here. Today we are going to do our fourth shading lesson. So far we have learned how to do a graduated tone value scale with a pencil, and we shaded a sphere using a pencil. We have learned how to blend our colored pencils on a value scale, and we're going to do the same activity with shading a sphere using our colored pencils. I'm using warm colors today, and as you can see, there are a lot of different warm colors. There are several different yellows, several different oranges, several different reds. So what you kind of want to do is start out with trying to figure out which one of these you want to work with. There's one, there's warmer colors. Some of them are very, very close, so close that you can't tell a difference, so you can kind of eliminate those. I kind of like that one. Let's see. That one's a little peach. That might be nice if I was shading to a pink, but because I want to go towards my red, I'm going to keep that one in. These two are very, very close to each other, so I don't need both of those. Actually, I kind of like that lighter one a little bit more, so I'm going to replace that one. You're just kind of, this is a learning process. That's a different kind of pencil, but that's, I think I'm going to go with the one I have out. And so then I'm just kind of figuring these out. That one's almost kind of a magenta, a little bit darker. I think maybe I'll do 4 colors. Okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So with your values, with the pencil, we're using the pressure to go dark to light to find different values of gray. When we're using our colored pencils, we want to use a light, a medium, and a dark value of our colored pencil. So I've actually got 4 in here because this one's kind of a little bit of a raspberry I like. So I've selected a light, a medium, and a dark value of warm colors that I'm going to blend. When you are doing a value scale of a light color, and you're pushing hard and you're trying to make that show up and trying to see that value change, it's kind of a tough thing to see because it is such a light color. When you start working with a darker color, into it, it makes a big difference. Okay, so you can really see the changes. So remember, if you're working with yellow on your sphere, this is one of the harder colors to start out with. Okay, so you're going to draw your circle, and you're going to color that in that light value. Okay, this is your lightest value you're working with. We don't need to worry about going as dark as we can on the outside edges, because with this light value, that is our light value. And then we're going to come in with our medium value, and we're going to start that same process working in a contour. I'm just putting it in very, very lightly. Okay, because remember that transition is drastic because the yellow is so light. So you want to just work very light with that first color. Don't be afraid to rotate your paper, whatever works. Remember, you can't just color across the whole thing because that's going to flatten it out. You have to come from the outside edges. Whether you're using lines and kind of leaving some spaces, or whether you're really trying to do an entire value scale. Again, keep your color light. It's much easier to do the contrast and create that illusion of form of the side curving away from you because orange is a lot darker of a value than yellow is. So you're just kind of going around that outside edge. Notice I'm not even coming all the way to the center. I'm stopping out here. If you get too dark, then it takes more space to go through your value scale. So as long as you keep it nice and light, it shouldn't be a problem here. Okay, so keeping that nice and light, we're just gonna blend that out really lightly. Okay, now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna start to make a little bit more contrast. Trying to smooth any lines out. I've got some lines over here. I'm just gonna do an extra layer on those. I'll smooth them out a little bit, really lightly. A little bit harder on this outside edge on the bottom side. Okay, if this is my table that we're sitting on here, I can go a little bit darker on this bottom side, and that's gonna create that illusion that it's curving and going back away from you in space. Now I could stop here because I've got enough contrast, like it's starting to really look nice in 3D. Yeah, I could stop here if I wanted to. But I can also continue and add a little bit more contrast. Getting this red in here is really gonna make it go back in space. And maybe I'm not gonna do the top part, just this outside edge. So this time, so before I left the center uncolored, just plain old yellow, and then I was doing my value scale. Now my value scale is even shorter. I'm trying to stay out here in this outside edge. You don't want to make an outline, a dark outline, because then that's something that you have to fix, remember, because we don't want a line that's breaking from dark to light. We want a gradual change, okay, that gradual change. So we don't want to get too dark of a line. Again, the red is there for the contrast. We talked about saturation, I believe earlier. Saturation is when you just get so much colored pencil on your paper that it won't accept any more color. So if I had so much yellow on here that it wouldn't even let my red show up, then that would be, we would say that was, the paper was saturated. It is holding all that it can hold. So you don't want to push too hard to get to that point. If I wanted to, I'm going to do this. I might mess it up. And if it does, that's okay, because that's part of life. I'm going to go darker down here at the bottom, okay? Really make that look rounded. Okay? So there you've got your three-dimensional sphere, okay? Now I'm going to do real quick with a light source. So if this is my light source shining on my sphere, then you're going to have, let me switch to my yellow here so I don't mess anything up. You're going to have a cone of light that is hitting this sphere. It's hitting the outside edges, right? Okay, so this is going to be the highlight. If this ball is sitting on the ground, then the shadow, the ellipse that we use to make that shadow, is going to reflect the part that's casting the shadow over here. So then you have that. So as we shade this one, you're going to be darker down here on this bottom side, okay? Now, if you have a flashlight at home and a ball or a tennis ball or something like that, if you get your flashlight out on your phone or whatever, and you shine it on that ball, tennis ball, whatever it is, when your light is very close to it, you're going to see almost a hard line right here. Light, shadow. The further your light goes away, the more gradual that shadow is going to be. So you're the storyteller when you are shading objects, when you're drawing pictures. You're always telling a story. You're giving the viewer information about what they're seeing. You know, what time of day it is. If the light's right overhead and the shadow's cast down here, you're saying, oh, it's noon, right? Because the sun's directly overhead. If the light is down here very low, then it's late in the day and the shadow is going to be longer. So you're always giving information, sharing information. That's your science for today. You know, we're going to use our light reflecting. So I'm going to switch to my red here. Now my darkest part of my shadow is going to be where the ball is sitting on the ground. Okay. And is the farthest away from the light source. So I'm going to push a little bit harder here. But our ball is still a sphere. So there's still going to be a light shadow along this outside edge because it's still curving away from us. And we want to share that information. That is three-dimensional. So you've got a nice light source here. Now when we start looking at the shadow, I'm just going to use the colors that I have out, guys, but if you want, if it was a blue table, the shadow would be darker blue. If it was a wooden table, the shadow would be darker brown. I'm just going to play with the ones I've got here. So I'm going to start with this raspberry color I haven't gotten to use yet. And right underneath my object is going to be the densest shadow. And then as the shadow moves out away from the object, it's going to get lighter because more light is coming from around the object. From up here, it's blocked by the object. Okay, so if I switch to my, oh, I switched to the orange. That's all right. The shape of your object is going to be reflected in the shape of the ellipse. So now we have a nice dark shadow that is being cast by your sphere. And a three-dimensional sphere done with colored pencils. So if you are wanting to explore this, try different color combinations. Your yellow, green, and blue. Go with the cool colors. You could start with a green and do turquoise and navy blue, maybe do some purple on it. Because you're always going to want to select a light, a medium, and a dark color that are next to each other on the color wheel, so that you aren't mixing any ugly colors. If you have yellow and purple, you're going to get a not as pleasant color. It's going to be kind of a brownish color. Remember, red and green make brown, and blue and orange make brown. So you want to stay with the color families that we've learned, warm colors or cool colors. I don't have to start with my light color. I can start with orange and go to a coral and then to a pink. Or I can start with turquoise and go to a navy blue and then to a purple. But do some experimenting and see how you like blending your colored pencils using drawing a sphere.